Have you ever signed a player to your team and expected them to go on to become the best player in the world, but for some reason they're not achieving that level? It may be because of their hidden attributes. There are 7 hidden attributes within every player profile on FM22 that really determine how the player gets on the field. Are they not consistent? Are they always injured? Are they prone to getting sent off? Today we are going to take a look and a deep dive at these 7 attributes, what they mean, how they impact your player, and more importantly we're going to show you some real examples of players in the database right here, right now, and why they may not be performing. If this is the sort of video you enjoy, please do drop a like on it down below, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, because this is going to be a very, very interesting video. But without any further ado, let's dive into it. So guys, before I show you any real examples, we are going to talk to you today about what these hidden attributes are and how they impact players in the FM22 match engine. First and foremost, we are going to talk about consistency. This is the first one that I'd like to touch on. We have consistency. So every player in the game has a current ability. Let's call our player with the current ability of 160. The consistency factor ranges from 1 all the way through to 20, much like the same as all the attributes on a player's information card, but the consistency is how often and how regularly the player delivers on their current ability. So if a player has 20 consistency and 160 current ability, they will deliver at that level much more often than if their consistency was a much lower value. You know exactly what you're going to get out of this player. They will do it time in and time out, regardless of the sort of game that you are playing. These are the sorts of things that I look for. You can see them in terms of in the scouting report. You can see they are listed as a fairly consistent performer or a very consistent performer, etc. This is definitely something for you guys to look out for. So the next one we're going to talk about is ambition, and this goes without saying. This is how much success the player wants to achieve. Now, someone with a high ambition is going to probably have a little bit lower loyalty, which is something that we will touch on later, but they always want to progress in their club. So if you have someone with a high ambition at your club and you're not at the pinnacle, you are not one of those elite clubs in the world, then they're most likely going to want to leave. So when that offer comes in from PSG, from Real Madrid, from Barcelona, from any of the clubs in the Premier League, they're going to be off and they're going to want to leave ASAP. This is one to bear in mind, but I definitely think there are other more important hidden attributes. So next up, we're going to talk about controversy. This is obviously how controversial the player is going to be, and as a measure of exactly how outspoken the player is going to be in stuff like press interviews, in terms of if you want to sign a player and they're unhappy and they're disgruntled, they are more likely to go to the press and speak to them and say, I want to demand a move. If their controversy value is high, again, these range from 1 all the way up to 20, 20 being bad. If you have a player who has 20 controversy, that's a problem. That is a real problem, because they're going to demand a move. They're going to badmouth you most likely. You're going to ideally look for someone on the lower end of that scale. Next up, we have dirtiness. Now, this is how frequently a player is going to look to break the rules in order to win the match. Now, you've seen this come through in scouting reports that they have a competitive streak and that they will do anything that it takes to win matches. I personally don't think a dirtiness factor is that bad. So having someone with a higher dirtiness isn't that bad. They're going to try and break the rules. They might do something that they probably shouldn't do on the field, but this is going to be the sort of player who tries their damnedest to get all 3 points every single week. So next up, we are going to talk about important matches. This is how effectively a player deals with the pressure of being in a high intensity match. This is where your players need to have a high attribute to deliver in finals, to deliver in that Champions League final, to deliver in that massive derby against your rivals. This is where it all matters. Yes, you can have someone with 20 consistency, but if they have a 1 for important matches, they're just not going to turn up. We will show you some examples of this later on in the video. Up next is loyalty. Again, another self-explanatory one. This is where you have a player, if a player has high loyalty, they're going to want to stay at your club, even if a more lucrative financial offer potentially comes up. So find someone who is a loyal person who wants to stay at your club is always fantastic, because ultimately when the PSGs of the world come knocking, this player is going to go, no, this person took a chance on me. I want to stay here. This is the team I support. This is a manager that I am loyal to, which is why it is always good to have players have you as a manager in their favoured personnel, because if they have a shred of loyalty in them, it's on the higher scale. They are going to want to stay at your club for longer. Only a few more to go, guys, but now we are talking about pressure, which obviously is the mental ability to manage difficult circumstances. Now, this kind of goes hand in hand with the important matches attribute, but also is how a player will react in a game situation as well, on a game-to-game basis. So if your team goes a goal down, your team goes 2 goals down, if they've got good pressure, a good pressure attribute, they're going to be able to get you back into that game. It's not going to mentally impact them as much as it would if they had a lower level of pressure. So these sorts of players, again, are what you need to look for to make sure that you have the elite of the elite in terms of players coming into your team. Now we have professionalism. This is the way of measuring a player's approach to work. If a player has a high level of professionalism, they're going to turn up to training, they're going to train hard, and they're going to do the best that they can for you. A player with a lower level of professionalism may skip training, may get fined, may do all the sorts of things that you don't want them to do off the field. This is where you need to tailor things and look for players with high professionalism to get the best out of them on the training field. Now we're going to talk about sportsmanship, which is the way of measuring a player's attitude when it comes to fair play. This is how moral they're going to be basically on the football field. Are they going to put in 2-footed challenges? Are they going to, do something that they probably shouldn't do? If the ball are they going to kick the ball out when a player goes down injured? All of this sort of stuff feeds into the sportsmanship factor. Ideally, again, this isn't one of the key priorities for me when I'm looking for it, but it is a nice to have. Nice to know that you've got morally good players on your team. The penultimate one we are going to talk about today is temperament. This is a way of measuring a player's calmness when involved in specific match situations. So like if they've got a booking already, are they going to chuck themselves into a tackle to potentially get another yellow card? Are they going to react to things such as tackles and fouls and get themselves back up and start shoving and all of that stuff? They can go into it. A high temperament level along with a high dirtiness level can really see players pick up these red cards and start to stack them over the course of the season and ultimately turn them into a player that cannot be relied upon. And the final one that we are going to talk about today is versatility. This is how good a player can perform in different positions. So if you get a man sent off and you're asking someone to play in a different position, how well they can adapt to that and how much of an output you're going to look at getting from them and how quickly a player can kind of retrain a different position. If they have a high versatility factor and you're trying to train a midfielder to play on the wing or a centre midfielder, an attacking midfielder to play up front, this is how quickly they can adapt to playing in that slightly different role. So we've kind of explained all of the attributes that you need to look out for. Let's show you some in-game examples and start taking a look at some real world players and what I think their problems are. So guys, I've loaded up a save in FM22 and I've used the power of the in-game editor so that we can take a look at some of these attributes within some of the players in world football. As you can see on the screen here right now, we have all of the players. This database has every player in the game, absolutely everybody, and I've currently got them sorted by current ability, as you can see here. In terms of current ability, Lionel Messi, best player in the game, 194 current ability, Lewandowski second, KDB, Mbappe, etc, etc. I've also got columns here for their consistency, their important matches, their pressure, their injury proneness, which is another hidden attribute that I didn't talk about, but is a key one, their dirtiness, their controversy, and their temperament. So these are the ones that I kind of look for. Now, obviously, when you're playing a game, if you don't have the in-game editor, you can't see this information. You have to take a look at what comes back on your scouting report card. Some of these are quite easy to interpret. I will chuck in some examples now of stuff that you can look for. Some players who are consistent, some players who hate big matches, all of that stuff. It really is worth paying attention to these scout reports, guys. And the scouting side of FM is massive. Making sure you get these right players is absolutely crucial. But let's dive in and take a look at some of these players. So let's start off first and foremost with Lionel Messi. Obviously, in terms of his attributes, he is fantastic. As everybody knows, I did say he has the highest current ability of everybody in the game at the start of it. And using the power of the in-game editor, we can click on the pencil here and go to edit player attribute details. This is where we can see everything about him. So this is his current ability, 194, as is his recommended current ability, potential ability, obviously 200. Then you've got his reputation, and then you have everything else, the ones that I was talking about here then, guys. So you've got adaptability, so being able to play in different positions and stuff. Messi has 17 for there. He's got 20 for ambition, 18 for loyalty, 19 for pressure. So in terms of a situation when they go a goal down, Messi's your man. No real surprise there. Professionalism is quite high as well, 17, so he's going to turn up for training. He's got good sportsmanship, a decent enough temperament. He's not controversial at all, so he's not going to speak out against you. His consistency is pretty high as well, 17 out of 20. Dirtiness on the low side. Important matches, again, on the high side. It's an 18. You know Messi's going to deliver in these key spots. He's not very injury prone, and he's quite versatile, which makes him a all-round great player. This comes as no surprise. But let's take a look at his PSG teammate, Kylian Mbappe. Now, on the face of things, Mbappe looks like a brilliant, brilliant player. I'm less convinced. Don't get me wrong, he's going to score a lot of goals for you. I had him in the beta at Manchester United, and he wasn't as good as I thought he was going to be. And there are reasons behind that. So if we go into this again and we edit his player details, you can see he's got a fantastically high current ability of 184, but some of the other things, some of the hidden attributes are what you need to look at. So his adaptability isn't too high, which again will impact him moving to a different club, a different country, as well as positionally if you try to play him somewhere different. He's got a 20 for ambition. He's always going to want to be at the top, so if your team drops off for a season, he's probably going to want to leave. His loyalty factor, not very high. It's a decent level, but not very high. His pressure attribute, pretty good. His professionalism, again, pretty good. Sportsmanship, okay. Temperament, okay. Controversies, okay. But the big one for me is his consistency of 13. Messi had a much higher consistency. You know he's going to deliver to that current ability more often than not. 13 for consistency. Yes, it is slightly high, but it's not as good as it could be. So sometimes you're going to get Kylian Mbappe at that current ability of 184. Sometimes you're going to get a Kylian Mbappe with an ability of 120, and sometimes he's just not going to show up at all. And this is something that I really, really don't like about Kylian Mbappe now I've looked at it. There are other players in this list that I've got here that you can take a look at. I've kind of got them all arranged as I'd like them. Karim Benzema is another very interesting one that we're going to touch on here. Again, looks fantastic. Legendary striker, absolutely no doubt. But if we go into his player attributes and take a look at things again, obviously he's got that current ability of 180. But for me and Karim Benzema, it's the 9 that he's got in important matches. It's just not good. He's just going to wilt in important matches. When the stage is at its biggest, your Champions League finals, your games against Barcelona in La Liga, he's just not going to perform for you. Yeah, okay, he might get the odd goal here or there, but in terms of a consistent basis in these big games, he's just not going to be present, which is very, very weird. It's something very intricate about the game, and being able to find these and know what you're looking for in terms of your scouting reports really, really does make a big difference. In terms of some of my more favoured players in here, Cristiano Ronaldo. Let's look at Ronaldo, shall we? Ronaldo has all the hidden attributes to be the best player in the world, so it comes as no real surprise that he is or was. I'm not getting involved in that debate. His adaptability, very, very high. His ambition, high. Professionalism, 20 out of 20. No ice cream, no desserts at the Manchester United training ground. That's your 20 professionalism right there. Not very controversial. Easy for me to say. He has a consistency factor of 20. Ronaldo is going to deliver on that 182 current ability every single game. You know exactly what you're getting from Ronaldo. In important matches as well, he's at a 16, so that's on the higher side. It's not as bad. It's not as good as Messi. Messi had 18, but it's definitely nowhere near as bad as Benzema. So you know he's going to be there. He's a little bit dirty as well, which is kind of what you look for. Something above the average mark, just to try and get the victories as often as humanly possible. He handles pressure very well. I just think Ronaldo is the perfect player if you're looking for hidden attributes, to be perfectly honest. Let's see if I can find another example in here. I've already touched on the two. Here we go then. This will come as a surprise to absolutely none of you. Talking about Manchester United players, let's talk about one Paul Pogba. Again, Pogba, fantastic attributes on the face of things. Obviously, he's outside my scouting scope because I don't actually have a club in this save. But if we go to his attribute details, 19 ambition, 10 loyalty. That speaks volumes. Obviously, his agent is trying to tout him around every single transfer window, but he's got consistency of 9. Guys, just don't sign Paul Pogba. He's not going to deliver for you. You're going to spend so much money on Paul Pogba, and he's just not gonna do it for you. I'm gonna chuck in some examples of what you need to look for in terms of scouting attributes and see what these scouting reports and coach reports can return this information about your players. So guys, I've just jumped into my YouTube live save with Red Star over in Serbia to show you some of the results that you can see on these players. Now, I don't have the pre-game or the in-game editor enabled on this save for obvious reasons, but what we're going to do is we're going to look at the scout reports and the coach reports that you guys can get on your players so you know where these sort of attributes lie. Now, there is something on 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. This is 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. He's my elite level striker. He's 17 years of age. He's come through someone else's youth intake, but that's not the point. We're not talking about that today. He has a spirited personality, which means he does have decent attributes. I will do a video on player personalities a little bit later, but I wanted to talk to you about the hidden attributes first, set that groundwork, set that foundation level, and then we can go and talk about the other stuff. But what you can see on 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪's coach report here is the first and foremost, the main thing that I look for. He is a consistent performer, which is fantastic. And that goes without saying, if we take a look at his career stats, this is 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. Obviously, we paid 900k for him in his first season because he has that consistency attribute. He got 18 goals in 28 games in the league. And this season, he's got 8 goals in 13 games in the league. Now, whilst everything is going tickety-boo for us over in Serbia, he is a consistent performer. He's almost a goal a game striker this season in that league, which is fantastic for someone who is aged just 16. Now we move on to another player at my club. We have 𝘼𝙗𝙪 that we're going to talk about now. Everybody's signed this guy in FM22, am I right? But he has some very important things that you need to look on his profile as well. Not only does he have the consistency trait, much the same as 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. These come in different shades of green, guys. This is almost the best one. The best one is if it is a pure dark green like his form, or like anything on the top row basically. He is a fairly consistent performer, which is exactly what I look for in players, but he also has the added bonus of being enjoying big matches. He likes his big matches. He's going to turn up in them. He's going to score big goals. Case in point, he scored a lovely free kick in our game against Spurs in the Europa League, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Now on the other side of the coin, we have a player right here who my scouts have recommended, and on the face of things he looks okay. Looks like he could be a squad player for me, can play on both sides of the field, which is nice. His transfer information, he's going to come in cheaper, we can afford him. His estimated wage is going to be low. He's interested in a transfer, he's interested in a loan. He's a consistent performer, but he doesn't enjoy big matches. Now this is something that you really need to pay attention to in your saves. If you want to go on and you want to win these trophies, these are the sorts of things that you need to look out for. Pay attention to these player weaknesses, pay attention to these report cards. Go into the scout report on this guy and you can see all the pros and all the cons listed here. He doesn't like big matches, he's poor at heading the ball, which for a winger doesn't really matter, difficult to fit in with the core social group, and could command a high agent fee. On the pros, he's obviously got all of this stuff. So this is really all the stuff you need to look out for, guys. Hopefully with this video I've armed you with what you need to look for in these scout reports to get the best out of your players and to be able to sign the players who are going to take your team to the next level. If you have enjoyed today's video, guys, please do drop a like on it down below. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and until next time, guys, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. I'll see you on another one very soon.